Okay, so our final speaker on this panel is Tristan Wilkinson. You heard Annika earlier on today talk about the UK digital champion Martha Lane Fox, and that she now has set up a charity, Go On UK, and Tristan is Deputy Chief Exec of that charity. I've asked, I hope he's going to respond, but I've particularly asked Tristan to talk about the interesting way in which what started out as a sort of government-funded and supported initiative to tackle digital inclusion in the UK has been turned by the digital champion Martha Lane Fox into a very different model and very differently funded, and I hope people are fascinated and interested in that process, as well as finding out from Tristan what they're doing. And in terms of Tristan himself, he is now the Deputy CEO at Go On UK, but before that, and as long as I've known Tristan before that, he was Government Director at Intel for EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, Africa. So sort of very much coming from a large technology industry by background. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Robin. So somebody's already mentioned this, and this is our goal, to make the UK the most digitally capable nation. The sort of stats I used to look at when I was at Intel certainly convinced my bosses at the time that digital inclusion was a war that had been won. My final years at Intel were one of immense frustration in trying to convince some of the big companies that were peers of mine to continue to engage in this area. One of the things that encouraged me to jump from a corporate world into one of a charitable world was the enthusiasm for Martha and others who are looking at this in the UK to kind of move the agenda on from just talking about access and inclusion to focusing on skills. And I think one of the things that's made our organisation and our activities much more appealing to industry and to the people that we serve is that focus on skills, because it changes the dynamic. Some of the data I used to look at when I was at Intel, for instance, shows that the UK is the #1 country per capita in terms of online spending. Brits spend more time online using social media than any other country in the world, including North America and the Koreas, South Korea in particular. So that sort of data would mask the fact that there remains an issue. And somebody else talked about kind of the digital divide is closing, and it is closing. But it's also deepening as well. I.e., those who are not online, the consequences of their everyday life are becoming more stark than ever they were. And so although kind of some of the headline figures show progress, it hides an underlying challenge that older people, younger people without employment, as governments look to save money and they turn off certain services and move everything to digital, they're not able to bring some of their core constituents with them, and that's going to continue to be a problem for some time. I'm here at an interesting time. 2 days ago was a very, very big day for us. So October the 1st, we launched 2 large initiatives. We are very lucky that the BBC is one of our founding partners. We did some research with the BBC just recently, concluded just a week ago. And we did some analysis across the UK as to which regions had the biggest problem. And so 2 days ago, we launched a 26-week pilot in the northeast of England, which is the area with the largest issue in terms of people that have got low literacy, digital literacy skills. We also launched an online portal, which I'll show to you in a moment, called digitalskills.com, and I'll go into that a little bit more. But what you see bottom right on this is Martha. She's a formidable person. Anybody who knows Martha by reputation or personally will know that she does not give up. She's been doing this for a long time, She's involved in many, many projects. Some are, many of those are businesses, but her enthusiasm for this remains completely undiminished. We're also very lucky that Google gave us a lot of support over the last couple of weeks as well. So there's an event that Google run called a Juice Bar. I don't know where they do it, if they do it around Europe or whether this is a UK thing. But Google ran their 50th UK Juice Bar at our event, and we had over 300 small businesses come in and work alongside us. So the starting gun for that particular project has been fired, and we're now in week 1 of a 26-week program. This is kind of what we do and kind of how we do it. So on the left, this is kind of some of our USPs, if you like, unique selling proposition. We are seen in the UK as kind of the go-to organisation as it relates to digital skills. So we get involved in policy making, we get involved in programme development, we get involved in content development, we get involved in all sorts of things. We don't necessarily do all of it, but we are certainly kind of involved in kind of certainly the providing intellectual guidance in some of these instances. We are seen by the government, although we do not receive any government funding whatsoever. We're completely privately funded. So, but government do regard us as an important stakeholder in terms of some of their policy development. We have excellent, deep and wide-ranging relationships. And one of the things that we do is we offer a safe environment for collaboration. And that's really, really important, particularly if you're brokering cooperation between businesses and elements of public sector. Having an organisation that is not for profit, that is able to broker deals that maybe combine some element of commerciality and some element of public good is a really, really important role that we play. We raise, our budget is £1.2 million, that's about 1.4 million euros a year. That's all from industry. That currently comes from 8 donors who each give us several £100,000 to fund our activities. We have 12 full-time staff, 8 founding partners, most of whom you can see along the bottom there, so Lloyds Bank, TalkTalk, EE, which is part of Orange, BBC, Age Concern, these are all our kind of founding partners. Through our network we have 400 affiliated organisations. 5 government departments regard us as part of their delivery arm, and we have 15,000 individuals spread across the UK who give up their time on a voluntary basis to develop and put our programmes actually out into the market. And this year we've raised £20 million for our partners. So 15 million of that is one of our founding partners is the big lottery. So every country's got their lotto. The UK Lotto has just awarded a grant of £15 million to our agenda. We are currently writing the criteria for applications, which will open in January for that. And we also raised a further £7 million from the government, which doesn't come to us, that goes directly out into our network. So I think for a relatively small team, we've been pretty successful in raising fairly large sums of money that make a huge difference, particularly at times of massive constraint like we have at the moment. Part of the call to action for us is, this is our digital skills charter. All of our partners are required to sign up to this charter. And this is our attempt at defining the baseline for digital skills. So we've identified 4 things that we believe individuals need to be able to perform to reach a baseline. So send or receive emails, search and browse, transact personal information, so using social media, and increasingly do that in a very safe environment. I saw a previous speaker have the Dropbox icon on. I personally use Dropbox. I attended a seminar 2 days ago. I shall not be using Dropbox after hearing what I heard. It's a completely unsafe environment. So the business model is very, very attractive. I love the business model. I love the cloud. most people do not possess the ability to determine whether or not they're putting their content into a safe cloud or a completely open cloud. And I suspect many of the people in this room probably fall into that category despite our interest in this subject. So one of our concerns is that the agenda is moving forward very, very quickly as technology becomes much more rapid. One of my favourite statistics from my time at Intel, in any given year, 90% of Intel's revenue comes from products that didn't exist at the beginning of that very same year. 90%. That's the pace of change and innovation. If you look at how slow policy changes happen, the reality is that the technology and what it can do, and the democratizing effect of technology, is becoming very detached from some of the policy making structures that we have. And that's just going to cause more and more problems in the future. This is brand new. This data was published last Friday by the BBC. It shows the latest breakdown of the offline population and the population without digital skills. One of the surprising ones is that there is a belief that all young people are using technology. That's kind of partly true. A lot of young people do have technology in their pocket, but what they're doing with it doesn't necessarily empower them to get a job. It will empower them to meet their friends, it will empower them to maintain social networks, it will give them some basic skills. But it probably falls short of the sorts of things that employers are looking for. And that remains a real problem with the sort of unemployment rates for younger people that we see not only across Europe but across the world. Still the biggest percentage of people are the older generation, but I think we were still surprised to find that 47% of the people in the UK who don't have sufficient digital skills are actually under 65 as well. So, it's roughly sort of 50-50. So it's not just the older population. And this data is very, very helpful. One of the things we strive to do through our network is to prioritise and focus our efforts. We don't have enough resources to do all the things we'd like to do. So having data that enables us to focus on particular regions or particular demographics with specific solutions and tailor-made messaging, for instance, we have a strong belief that enables us to be much more effective than just trying to move everybody forward at the same rate. We believe that if we focus, we tend to have more impact. This is a model that we've developed in the last couple of months, and it's trying to develop a skills ladder. There's still this cohort of people who are absolutely offline, but we're trying to move people up. If you look along the horizontal axis, if you're offline completely, the cost of you transacting with society and the cost of particularly government services transacting with you is very high, because that still has to be done in the physical world. So governments have to maintain a physical network. And the cost to you as an individual in terms of getting the best deal for your energy or the best deal for your car insurance and all those sorts of things, doing comparative shopping, all those sorts of things, if you're not online, it makes it very, very difficult to kind of get those best competitive deals. As you move towards the upper quadrant and to the left, the cost of transacting with you goes down. And we all know the figures that have been around for many years, the cost of a face-to-face transaction versus the cost of a telephone transaction versus the cost of an online transaction. They're magnitudes of difference. But more importantly, the value to the individual goes up significantly. As your digital skills grow, as your digital confidence grows, you move from being a consumer of content to being a producer and a creator of content. And with that dynamic comes economic opportunity. As you move into being confident enough that you can apply for jobs, that might spur some people into being more entrepreneurial and starting their own businesses. If you look in the UK, there's been a big focus on entrepreneurship over recent years. And one of the fastest growing areas of new businesses is people starting, born on the web businesses. Those are people who have a high level of digital competence. And without that digital competence, they wouldn't be able to start those businesses. 18 months ago, we did a particular campaign in Liverpool. Liverpool had one of the largest demographics of offline population. This reinforces my point about focus. We managed to get a 55% reduction in the offline community in an 18-month period. So a really, really large step change in terms of participants engaging in technology for the first time. We distilled the learnings from that down to the 3 Ps. Political leadership, partnership and people. Political leadership came from getting every single councillor and political leader in Liverpool to sign up and actively support us. We had a big session, we got everybody to sign a book. Afterwards, 10 of the councillors came up to us and said, I'm a bit embarrassed, but I've just signed this declaration and I don't know how to do the things I've just signed up for. Can you help me? Because I'm going to get found out. So political leadership was really, really important. Partnership was really, really important. We created a collaboration between trade unions, local networks, libraries, UK online centres, local businesses. It made a really, really big difference. So kind of partnerships were crucial. And then the last one was people. It plays to a stereotype in the UK, but it's true. There are certain people in Liverpool who are very, very outgoing and vivacious, and we found some digital champions who literally seized the opportunity and started knocking on their neighbours' doors and badgering them into going along to a session. And that was incredibly powerful to have a network of people at a grassroots level who are prepared to campaign on behalf of what we were trying to achieve. So this is brand new as well, 2 days old. Please go and look at it. Please tell us if you like it or you don't like it. Digitalskills.com is an online marketplace that we have built. The mantra we're using is that it's an environment without fear or favour. So within this environment, you will see commercial content sit alongside NGO and government content. And it's going to be organised from an end user's perspective. So this isn't live, so I can't scroll down. But what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to go on as an individual, a charity or a business and ask really, really simple questions, and it will take you through a process where it will present scenarios. And kind of part of our methodology for this is if you go to a Chinese restaurant. So if you're familiar with Chinese food, when you go to a Chinese restaurant, you'll order from the a la carte because you'll know what you want. If you've never been to a Chinese restaurant before, you might go for the set menu because you're unfamiliar with the food. What we're trying to do through digital skills is offer both of those scenarios. Have an a la carte menu for people who know what they're trying to look for, but also have a set of scenarios which the marketplace is telling us are the most useful scenarios. So we're going to package things together as a useful starting point. Give you an example. If you're a hairdresser or a dentist, you might go into this site saying, I'm a hairdresser. Why do I need digital skills? And it will present you with the 3 or 4 scenarios that hairdressers, the technologies that hairdressers use most frequently. Online booking systems, things like that. So it will present up some scenarios which we hope will provide a really good, powerful starting point. One of the big things, and hopefully the libraries will be on this, we haven't added it all, but we've got an interactive map. And individuals can go onto this and they can put the available resources. So in the UK, there's actually an awful lot of free Wi-Fi. You can go to a library, you can go to multiple coffee shops, you can go to, there's a whole network of large high street retailers, Asda, Argos and others, they all offer free Wi-Fi. We will be mapping all of those so you can put in your postcode and you'll be able to find a number of resources. So you put in your postcode and it will show you the most local free Wi-Fi to your location. It will also show you where and when the next session for online skills might be running in a library. So the idea is that we start to aggregate at a national level that can be interrogated at a local level what it is that people want to do. And those kind of combine into, where can I get information, where can I get training, where can I get maybe a mentor, how do I get free access, those types of things. So that's my last slide. In terms of call to action, we've got three main things that we're asking people to do. One is to sign up to our digital charter. All of our commercial partners have signed this charter, and as part of their responsibility, they've committed to train every single one of their employees on basic digital skills. And if you look at an employer like the Post Office, that's 200,000 people. So if you look across just our 8 founding partners, the BBC as well, several hundred thousand people. So just across our 8 founding partners, there's close to 1 million employees in the UK who will be offered basic digital skills as part of their training. And we're asking them to kind of make that training available to partner organisations. So that's number one. Number two, we want to aggregate and signpost content and resources. We don't have the resources to produce all of the content ourselves, so we're happy to signpost and to incorporate and syndicate other people's great content. And the last one is around innovation. I come from a technology company. We're trying to encourage the tech industry to get more engaged, because actually for an agenda which is around digital skills, I think that the tech industry is woefully absent from discussions like this. I don't see Microsoft, Google or Intel in this room. And they should be, because they should be understanding what the issues are and they should be designing in solutions from the outset. So one of the things we're doing is we're lobbying the tech industry to be much more innovative. One of the great examples was the iPad, and more importantly, touch. So what touch has done is it's enabled a whole group of people with low literacy levels to engage in technology in a way that they couldn't before. If you're illiterate in life, sitting down in front of a keyboard with a mouse and a screen doesn't suddenly make you literate. But touch technology might enable you to engage with some elements of technology that were previously out of reach for you. So those are our three things: digital charter, signposting, and driving innovation. That's my lot.
Thanks.